Your reflux and heartburn symptoms might not actually be a stomach problem. On today's summer podcast series, we are talking about one of the most overlooked drivers of upper digestive symptoms, constipation, and slow motility, and why what's happening further down in your digestive tract can have everything to do with how your stomach feels after meals. So, let's dive in. Welcome to the Stomach Solution, the podcast for all you high achievers out there who are tired of managing your reflux, heartburn, and stomach pain and are ready for a solution that lasts. I'm Jessica Washington, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and former reflux sufferer myself, so I know firsthand what it feels like to do everything right and still feel like your stomach is working against you. So, if you're ready to dig into your symptoms, hidden root causes, the ones that diet changes and supplements just won't touch, get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's uncover the solution to your stomach issues together. And as a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a replacement for medical advice or treatment. Well, hello, welcome back to episode 7 of our series. Today, we are going to be diving into the very surprising connection between constipation, burping, and reflux. And I'm so excited to talk about this because when you think about reflux or heartburn or any of the stomach symptoms that you're experiencing, usually your focus is on what's happening in your stomach or your esophagus. And that makes sense because that's where the burning happens. That's where all of the discomfort is showing up. And so it's natural to assume that the problem must be happening there too. But what if the real driver of your symptoms is actually happening much lower in your digestive tract? Especially if you've been doing all the right things, paying attention to your food, trying to support your digestion, being really intentional with your habits, and things still don't fully make sense. You're still having symptoms, you're still having reflux and heartburn, even though you're quote unquote doing all the right things that are supposed to be addressing that. And so in this episode, we're going to talk about one of the most overlooked drivers of reflux and heartburn and post-meal symptoms, which is constipation and slow digestive motility. And once you understand this connection, a lot of symptoms that used to feel confusing will start to click. So, your digestive system is essentially one long connected pathway. Food enters through your mouth, it moves into the stomach, and then into the small intestine, and eventually into the large intestine before being eliminated as waste. And when that system is flowing smoothly, digestion works at 100% capacity, things are running well, you're feeling great. Food moves through your stomach at the right pace, gas is managed properly, you're not feeling super bloated or burpy, and pressure doesn't build up anywhere in your digestive tract. But when that lower part of the digestive system slows down, particularly your large intestine, pressure can begin to build throughout the entire system. And so when you're not having consistent high volume bowel movements, that's when that large intestine motility can get really sluggish. Things just get backed up, and that just essentially causes a cascade of dysfunction and sluggishness throughout the entire system. And I often like to explain this to clients using a simple analogy. Imagine a traffic jam. If your exit ramp is blocked, cars start backing up further and further down the highway. And the same thing can happen in your gut. If the end of your digestive tract is not moving properly, if you're constipated, that creates a backup effect, and you will feel the ramifications of that in your stomach 100% of the time. So when your bowel movements are slow, incomplete, or infrequent, pressure builds in your gut, stomach emptying slows down, gas and fermentation increase, and reflux, burping, heartburn, and stomach fullness become so much more likely because now there's nowhere for that pressure to go except up. And this is where things can start to feel really frustrating because you're probably doing everything right with your meals, right? You're eating carefully, you're trying to choose foods that feel safe and non-triggering, and you're doing your best to avoid things that you know cause symptoms. But you still feel that pressure, that fullness, and that uncomfortableness after eating. And when that keeps happening, it can feel like your body just isn't responding the way that it should. And if you are constipated, and even if you don't categorize yourself as constipated, but just if you're having sluggish motility, if your bowel movements are not high volume, if you are just kind of having more infrequent bowel movements, many people with those issues also notice symptoms like burping after meals, pressure in your stomach or chest, reflux or regurgitation, and nausea or stomach discomfort. Even though those symptoms feel like they're coming and rooted in your stomach or esophagus, the underlying driver of those can often be slow movement, sluggish motility further down in your digestive tract. And beyond that, constipation or sluggish motility can also disrupt the balance of your gut microbiome and increase inflammation in your digestive tract. And when inflammation increases, your stomach lining can become more sensitive. And so now you have several things happening all at once. You have more pressure in your entire digestive tract, more gas production, and more sensitivity in your stomach lining. And all of those factors make reflux and heartburn much more likely and much more severe, all because of constipation and sluggish motility. And one of the biggest misconceptions about reflux is that it is always a stomach acid or a stomach problem, but digestion does not work in isolated pieces. It is an entire system. And if any part of that system slows down, the entire process will be affected. This is why when I'm working with clients, I always look at your entire digestive system, not just your stomach, because the key to calming stomach symptoms is actually improving what's happening further downstream in the digestive process. And that is actually many times where I start. If I have a new client and I notice that they have constipation, they're having kind of hard, drier stool, they're not having a bowel movement every day, that's the first thing that I'm going to fix. And a lot of times when we can improve bowel movement frequency and completeness, that can make a surprisingly large difference in how their stomach feels, especially after meals. And to tie this back into what you're probably dealing with day to day, this is especially important to focus on if your days are already full of responsibilities, if you're managing your home and your kids and your schedule. The last thing that you need is a digestive system that feels unpredictable on top of everything else, because when your digestion and your motility is backed up, it's not just physical discomfort, it's that mental load of constantly wondering how your body is going to respond next, how you're going to restore that motility, how all of that pressure and discomfort is going to get relieved. And one client who illustrates this really well is Jennifer. Jennifer came to me dealing with a collection of symptoms that didn't seem to make much sense at first. She was experiencing a lot of silent reflux symptoms, things like pressure in her head and nose, pressure in her chest, and persistent stomach pain. And what made her situation especially confusing was that she hadn't dealt with these symptoms for most of her life. Everything seemed to change after she went through antibiotic treatment for H. pylori with her doctor. And after that treatment, a whole set of strange new digestive symptoms started showing up. Her stomach became extremely sensitive. She started really restricting her diet, and she began feeling nervous about leaving the house because she never knew when her symptoms might flare. And when we started looking more closely at her case, one of the first things I noticed was that she was not having regular high volume bowel movements. Her digestion had slowed down significantly. So before we did anything else, our first priority was helping her restore healthy daily bowel movements. And really, once her digestive system started moving regularly again, her symptoms improved almost immediately. The pressure in her chest started easing, her head and nose pressure began to fade, and her stomach pain decreased significantly. And what's important here is that we didn't have to overhaul everything. We didn't need to keep adding more and more interventions. We simply addressed a key piece that had been overlooked all of this time. Jennifer's story is such a powerful reminder that sometimes the key to resolving your stomach symptoms isn't just looking at the stomach itself. It's making sure that your entire digestive system is functioning properly. So, if you have been dealing with reflux, burping, pressure in your stomach, or post-meal discomfort that doesn't seem to make sense, it's 100% worth looking at what's happening further down in your digestive system. Digestion is a connected pathway. And when bowel movements are sluggish or incomplete, pressure is going to build throughout your entire digestive tract. And that pressure can slow stomach emptying, increase gas production, and make reflux symptoms much more likely. And when that pressure is constantly there, it doesn't just affect how you feel physically. It affects how you move through your day, how comfortable you feel after meals, how much you trust your body, and how present you can be with your family without constantly thinking about your symptoms. This is why improving digestive motility and restoring healthy bowel movements can sometimes make a surprisingly large difference in your upper digestive symptoms. Because when your entire gut starts moving properly again, your stomach becomes much more comfortable and mealtime stops feeling like something you have to brace yourself for. So, in the next episode, we are going to talk about another reason many people stay stuck with reflux and heartburn for years. Why guessing about what's happening in your body often leads to dead ends, and how having clearer insight into what's actually going on can completely change the direction of your healing. So, I will see you then. Thank you so much for tuning into the Stomach Solution. If you got something valuable out of today's episode, please subscribe to the show and leave a rating and review wherever you're listening. It takes about 30 seconds and makes a huge difference in helping this show reach the people who need it the most. And if you're ready to dig even deeper into what's going on with your gut, come find me on Instagram at The Gut Healing Ninja, or head to theguthealingninja.com to get more resources and strategies to help you heal. And remember, there is a solution to your stomach issues, and we will find it together.